Hello, everyone. I am Sean, and welcome once again to my Horror Corner. As always, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate you tuning in and listening to me. Uh, there's all kinds of stuff out there you could be watching. So just the fact that you take a little bit of time to watch my channel really does mean a lot to me. And to those of you who have been subscribing, an extra thank you to you. You guys are amazing. I love the support. So thank you all so much. Today, I am super excited to have a guest on. First time on the show. I want to welcome Mike from Mike and Serial. Mike, thank you so much for coming on, sir.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on. Hey, viewers, I'm excited to be here.
Very cool. Yeah. Mike and I have, I think, probably just chatted a little bit through Brendan and Sam at Our Life in Horror. And yeah, I've been trying to, find some more new people to have on once in a while. And I'm like, okay, I always like listening to Mike's stuff. So let's get Mike on here and see what he has to say.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, very cool. Well, again, thank you so much for coming. Now, anybody that watches my channel might already be familiar with you, but just in case they're not, if you want to take a minute to, plug what you do and talk about what you have going on.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. I'm Mike and Serial. I am one third of Rise from the Dead podcast, where we dissect hidden gems, obscure movies, older movies. We pick one movie and then we just do a deep dive into it. And then I'm also one half of Voices from the Mausoleum, where I do a lot of found footage Fridays with my co host Angel. Same thing, we pick one found footage movie, we dissect it, and we do that every Friday. We also do filmmaker interviews. Author interviews. We like to touch on all the mediums of horror. And then myself on my personal like TikTok and Instagram page, Mike and Serial X, I am starting to do my own little bit of content of mini reviews. I do Salute Your Short Saturdays, where I pick one short and go over it and recommend it to everyone, as well as I will hopefully in November start a new series called Nightmares Without Borders, where I will be discussing all things international and foreign language horror.
Oh, wow. Very cool. So a lot going on.
Yeah,
Yeah, that you sound very busy. So yeah, I have a hard enough time just keeping up with this one channel. So I don't know how you do it. I'm impressed.
it takes a lot of caffeine.
I totally get that. Yep, get it. So I mentioned to you before we started recording, anytime I have somebody on for the first time, I always like to ask just because I'm curious. But so what got you into horror? Is there a particular movie? Was people like what it was it that brought you into horror?
So it's quite a combination, actually. I am just like I think many horror fans. I got started in the genre way too young. The 5-year-old who was made to watch It, The Exorcist, The Omen, all of these movies caused nightmares. I hated horror as a child, and then my dad and a very close relative of mine were super into horror. My dad took me to see Scream in theaters. I was like 6 or 7 years old.
Oh wow.
Um, and then, yeah, it was just a constant, everybody making me watch horror stuff. And I honestly hated it until I got older and I started to have more fun with it. And then as I started truly loving horror, because I actually found it very useful with my anxiety, it really, and I think a lot of people share that connection, tying their mental health with horror in a positive way when so many people think of it more negatively. I think many of us use it as an outlet for our anxiety because you do get anxious during horror movies, but once it's over, it's gone. So you
Yeah.
kind of just take what you're currently feeling throughout the day and you put that in with the anxiety you get from the movie you're watching. So it
Right.
kind of helps me with that. But the more I got into horror, the less the people that got me into horror were into it. So now in my circle, I kind of became alone. So that's when I found the horror community online, and it's been such a blast.
No, I completely get it, and we have similar stories there because I hated it as a kid as well. It scared me, always caused nightmares and things like that. And I kept trying because my dad and my aunt watched some of it, and eventually started getting into it and got to where I really liked it. But it amazes me, and I've talked about this before with other people. It amazes me how much of a comfort horror movies can become to us, because I'm like you 100%. I've struggled in my life with mental health and with depression in the past. And there's just something about coming home and after a really rough day and throwing on, Michael Myers or Jason or Freddy or Chucky or any of it. And it just seems to bring this calming to me for some reason. I just get immersed in what I'm watching, and then I feel better. I don't really know how to explain it, and I know it probably sounds awkward to people that don't like horror, but it works for me. So yeah, it's been a huge plus to me as well. In the same way, I got to a point where I kind of found myself, I absolutely loved it, but I didn't know a lot of other people who did, so I just kind of felt like I was alone in it and whatever. And then I came across the horror community through social media, and the amazing people out there in the horror
Yeah.
community. So yeah, I'm with you 100%. We have similar stories there. So very cool. Um, Mike and I today are going to be talking about Terrifier. We're going to talk Terrifier. We're going to talk Art the Clown. Um, Before we get started with this movie, though, I'm kind of curious your thoughts, because we've got horror icons. We've got Michael. We've got Jason. We've got Freddy, Leatherface, Chucky. Some Ghostface. So many great slasher icons out there. Has Art the Clown reached a point where you think he deserves to be mentioned with those, or not quite yet?
I think he's right there. I think we're starting to see what I always look at it when I'm thinking of like horror icons that are like super huge. It transcends the horror community. It's they are now pop culture icons.
Right.
Um, and I think art is almost there because I think even the people who aren't horror fans, but they'll go to or not Party City anymore, but Spirit Halloween just to pick up their costumes. Art has become recognizable, whether you know where exactly he's from or not. You know who he is now.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's as big as the other icons, but of course they got like 40 to 60-year head start on him. So
Right.
sorry, like cut him a little slack. He's only been around what, 10 years now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Exactly.
so I think he's heading in the right direction. I think if we're going to talk post 2000s horror icons, he is in our Freddy Krueger, Chucky, Jason talks. He is probably
Right.
our most prominent
Yeah.
uh, horror icon of the newer era. I'd say the
Right.
only other semi newer, and it's touching on 20 years now, would be Victor Crowley.
Right. No, I
And I think
agree
art's
completely.
bigger.
Yeah, I agree completely with what you're saying. And just to even back up what you were saying, I was talking to one of my coworkers today a little bit that knows that I have this YouTube channel, and they're not a huge horror fan. It's not that they hate it, they just get scared, so they don't watch a
Yeah.
whole lot of it. But um, we were talking about what we were doing after work, and I was like, I'm just ready to get home because I'm supposed to record this episode tonight, and with this friend of mine, and we're going to talk about Terrifier. And it was so funny because they're like, Terrifier, and I said, yeah, and they're like, what's Terrifier? And I said, Art the Clown, and they're like, Art the Clown. So I pull up a picture of Art on my phone, and instantly they're like, oh, I've seen that guy. So even though they're not a horror fan, they recognize his face. So yeah, you're right. It's starting to get out there into pop culture and not just the horror world. So yeah, I think you're spot on, and I agree with you. These other icons do have so much on him, but it's been a long time since we've got Jason or Freddy. Um, Chucky, because of the TV series, has stayed pretty relevant. Scream is still out there. It's been a while since we've got a good Leatherface, or in my opinion a good Michael movie. So yeah, Art's the kind of the one right now that's doing it. And I've compared the Terrifier franchise and the Hatchet franchise multiple times, but I think you're right again. Art's bigger than Victor Crowley, so there's a lot more people that are familiar with Art the Clown. So yeah, I think you're 100% spot on. I agree. um, so yeah, very cool. um, I'm curious to see where it goes, because I know there's a fourth film coming, and I know that Damien Leone says that that's it, but you never know. There might be more. We'll see.
I mean, that's it for now. Like
Right.
it could I think in 10 years I think he's truly done with this because what I got from him is he's done with this particular story. I think we'll
Right.
see Art the Clown Terrifier universe start to open up, but I think Art's story is done with the fourth movie. But again, I think he's gonna want to let it breathe. And then same thing with Friday the 13th before the remake happened.
Right.
Halloween had its different eras that it kind of jumped into.
Sure.
I think you kind of have to at some point because there's always going
Right.
to, while people like to make it seem like, oh, there's nothing but remakes now, it's always been remakes. We talked
Yeah.
about that in the early 2000s where it was only remakes.
Right.
2010s started to be remakes. So every decade we just get a cluster of remakes. And I am one of the people who I don't mind remakes, reboots, requels, whatever you want to call them, because again, it does not erase what's already happened. It
I
just
agree.
brings it to fresher eyes. And if you want horror to stay alive, you have to grow with the newer generations.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I am 100% the same way. I don't mind remakes and requels and all that stuff. And there are times I do find myself a little bit, I've talked about it with franchises like A Nightmare on Elm Street and even Child's Play. I wasn't a huge fan of the 2010 Elm Street remake. I wasn't a huge fan of the Child's Play remake. Since that time, I've gone back and I appreciate those movies a little more than I did initially. I think it was primarily just because I was so used to Robert Englund it just didn't feel like Freddy to me, in the remake. And same thing, you're so used to Brad Dourif voicing Chucky that, Mark Hamill doing that. It's not that he did a bad job, it just wasn't the same. So it kind of took me a little bit. But yeah, if you want horror to continue to live, like I want to see these franchises go on. I want to see these icons go on. So you're gonna have some of that and I'm okay with it. I'm fine.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Well, we will get ready to jump into this then. Uh, Terrifier. Tagline: You'll never forget your first kill. Brief overview for the film: a maniacal clown named Art terrorizes three young women on Halloween night and everyone else who stands in his way. The film premiered at the, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right, Telluride Horror Show, October 15th of 2016, and it was in theaters March 15th in 2018, so had a delay there before it actually hit the theaters. Directed and written by Damien Leone, produced by Damien Leone, Phil Falcone, and George Stuber. Cinematography by George Stuber, edited by Damien Leone. Music by Paul Wiley, distributed by Epic Pictures, releasing a runtime of 85 minutes, a budget of somewhere between 35 and 55,000, and then a box office of almost 422,000. Rotten Tomatoes score 63% from critics, 52% from the audience. At IMDb, sitting at a 5.5 out of 10. Let's stop there for a minute. And Mike, tell me your thoughts on the story for Terrifier, cinematography, score, that kind of thing.
Okay, so first I'll start off with like the big highlights for me of this movie, which are the cinematography and the score. I know this is an indie film at like it's an indie film no matter how much it grows. I think Damien Leone has like that mentality of keeping it grindhousey, keeping
Right,
it unpolished, and just because it's unpolished doesn't mean it's not done well. It's just more
agree.
gritty. It takes me to those Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies,
Yeah,
um, and that has the charm, and I think it's paired with such a creepy score. I love the way that the score plays throughout the movie, sets the tones and all of that. My lower light for this particular installment of Terrifier is the story,
okay.
because for me, there's not much of a story. Now, I will defend Terrifier from the people who used to be myself say that there is no plot. There is a plot. It's a thin plot.
Right,
Um, but there is a story. It's just it kind of just jumps straight into where when we're in normal slashers, we get the build up into the problem, why this person's killing, why this is happening.
right,
We don't do that here. We start with one person. We get to see Art and then we get the opening sequence, which we'll talk about later,
Sure.
and then we go straight into the two main characters for the most part
Right.
and art right away.
Yeah.
So you kind of just get thrown into it where now you're like, well, why are we here? What is happening? But to me, it's just we jump straight into act two. We
Yeah.
never have an act one in this movie.
Right.
Um, so for me, the story is the weakest part, but the more I get into the franchise as a whole, the more I appreciate the movies that I did not love when I first watched them, which was Terrifier. Because we mentioned earlier off screen, I was not a fan of this movie. I
Right.
was not even a fan of the second movie. It took me, I don't know what made me go see the third movie in theaters, knowing I don't like this franchise. But I'm so glad I did because within the first 5 minutes, I was hooked and they kept me throughout the entire movie. And then for Rise from the Dead podcast that I'm on, one of my co hosts is a diehard art fan. She loves the Terrifier franchise. And we had a co host and we did a deep dive into the entire franchise. And so I had to do rewatches. And the more rewatches I've done on these movies, I'm like, you know what? They're not that bad. I think when you stop like over analyzing the there's no plot part
Right.
of it, you can appreciate the grittiness of this movie. And then I know there's also like the big controversy of like the gore for gore's sake, how violent it is, the violence
Right.
against women. Like there's so much that surrounds this movie. And if you
Yeah.
really think about it, all the talking points, that's what makes a movie.
Right.
There's so many discussions and discourse around this movie. So it is a good movie to watch and join in on the discourse.
Yeah. No, I agree with a lot of what you're saying, and I agree with you. I do love the score. I think the score is underappreciated as well. I like the cinematography. I do like that dirty, gritty feel. It does remind me a little bit of like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Black Christmas, Hills Have Eyes, that kind of thing, a little bit. Um, and I agree that the story is probably the weakest part out of those three categories. Now, I'm like you to a degree. I didn't dislike the movie. The first time I watched it, I just thought it was very mediocre. I was like, yeah, it's okay. It's not that big a deal to me, but it's okay. Um, I did enjoy the second film, and I absolutely loved the third film. And now I've gained more appreciation, and I feel like every time I watch this first film, I feel like I like it a little bit more. I've seen it several times now, and I just went back and watched it a couple of days ago to get ready for you and I to review it. And the story is pretty thin, but I'm one of those people that I do enjoy when the story is good and when it's solid. I really do. For a slasher film, I don't have to have it. Give me something. If you can, even if it's pretty thin, give me something, and I'm okay when it's a slasher. Now, when you come up with this mind blowing great story, that's even better. But I don't have to have it. So I'm okay with the story. It is pretty thin. But one of the things about this film, and I feel like we're going to get into it at some point. In fact, I'm going to hold on to it till we get to our next category because there's something I want to talk about in this movie that's part of what drew me into it so much. So let's mention the cast for a moment. We have David Howard Thornton, of course, as Art. We have Jenna Cannell, Samantha Scafidi. I might be saying that wrong. Catherine Corcoran. That's really the kind of the main group here. Give me your thoughts on this cast and on these characters.
So, obviously, hands down, the standout. There is no argument that David Howard Thornton is the Terrifier franchise completely. Art the
Yeah.
Clown, he brought it to life.
Yes.
I don't think, and this is no disrespect to the actor who played Art the Clown in the All Hallows Eve. He also did a
Right.
good job.
Sure.
Um, I don't know if the Terrifier franchise would be what it is without David Howard Thornton at the helm.
I agree.
I think his quirkiness, the silliness, the way he's able to truly act in animation, like because he is not speaking. This is
Right.
very mimish behavior,
Yeah.
but he makes it comical and creepy at the same time. As silly as he is, and he's putting a laugh and a smile on your face, but it's also with like this, that's creepy. Like, it's funny, but I'm creeped out. And if I
Yeah.
were to see him, well, funny enough, I saw people cosplay him and I didn't realize I've always had a fear of clowns, but I've been able to see them a little bit. Someone dressed up as Terrifier at Horror Hound when I went, not this past year, but last year. And
Yeah.
I just like froze and realized, I'm like, okay, guess my fear of clowns is still really intact. Um, so I think David Howard Thornton, fantastic. Art the Clown, like I said, he is an icon for a reason. Um, I will say, in this particular movie, um, what's her name? Scafferty, the one who plays Vicky.
Yes.
Um, she is actually phenomenal, but we don't get to see where she truly shines in this particular movie. I
Right.
think she grows throughout the franchise as well. And then for me, she becomes an icon in her own right. In this
Yeah.
movie, I feel her character, it's hard to say this because of where she goes in the rest of the franchise. In this
Sure.
particular movie, for me, um, she just didn't shine, and I think it was for me because, and we'll get more into it down the line. I found her a little bit unnecessary.
Okay.
But the main characters, which were Tara and Dawn,
Right.
um, I think Dawn was hilarious. I think she played up her part how she needed to play it. I think the actress did a great job
I agree.
playing that type of friend. Uh, Tara, I wanted to like her so much. I feel that there was a little bit of a stiffness in this, but I think overall, because to me, this is still, especially the first one, it's very, very, very indie. And I think and it could be partially the script too, um, that I think we get not in a very bad way, but just you get the indie acting a little bit
Okay.
in this one.
Okay.
Again, and there's no shade to it because I love indie horror movies. And I've always said, especially being such a fan of found footage, if you give me really good other points like a story or just cinematography, if you give me something that I'm really going to grasp to, you can lose me in other little spaces a little bit. And
Okay.
acting is one of them because I understand the constraints uh, and getting certain people. I don't think they did a bad job at all. I just don't think it was the strongest from our lead.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I kind of like hearing that different perspective a little bit because I agree with you. David Howard Thornton, there's not much to say. I mean, he's absolutely incredible as Art the Clown. I 100% agree with you that without him, I don't know that this franchise goes any further than this first film, um, especially where it's at, to be where it's at today. So he's phenomenal. There's just not, anything else I think you can say. He's absolutely incredible. And I agree with you as well that the character of Victoria is just there's not much to it, here in this one. Not that I felt like she did a bad job or anything, but it was just kind of there. I do like Catherine, and I don't know how you pronounce her last name. I want to say it's Corcoran, but I might be wrong. That played Dawn. Um, she is very funny. I think she did a great job with her character as well. So I agree with you. Um, I actually love Tara. I don't know, and I can see a little bit of what you're saying, especially in the beginning, with the way her character comes across. I guess I just felt like maybe that was more the writing and the way her character was. But as the film develops, I really find myself liking her character more and more. But I'm a big fan of Jenna Cannell, so maybe that's part of it. Uh, the thing that I wanted to mention that I had put off until we bring it up here, um, to me, if there was ever, you talk about people in horror movies that deserve to live that didn't. and I've seen people put these things on social media all the time. Who deserved better? You know, you can see different pictures. There's two that come to my mind. Sarah Michelle Gellar as Helen, and I Know What You Did Last Summer, and Jenna Cannell as Tara in Terrifier are the two to me that should have lived. Every time I watch this movie, even though I know it's coming, I hate it when he shoots her. I absolutely hate it. So I really like the character of Tara, but I do see what you're saying. It drives me crazy every time I watch this movie and she gets killed. But um, yeah, it just drives me insane. But I do really like that character for some reason. I think she could have been such a great final girl. Now, knowing where the franchise goes, I understand.
Yeah, I was
And
just gonna
and
say that too.
yeah, so knowing where the franchise goes, I completely understand. But at the time when I saw this and I hadn't seen Terrifier 2 or knew what was happening, I was always like, why couldn't we have killed Victoria and let Tara live? Well, I know now,
Yeah.
but at the time, that's what I wanted.
Yeah, I know, I hear you, and I was definitely gonna say that later too, but I think that's what makes her death hit the hardest in this movie is because you do expect her to be the final. She has all the makings. She has the dialogue. She has the points. She has the chase. Like she has everything of
Right.
what the final girl is. So then to be hit with what we get hit with again, her death is the only way the franchise lives on the way that they played it out.
Sure.
But like you said, if you're the first, if you are watching this for the first time, we don't know if there's going to be a second movie. You just
Right.
hurt everybody who was watching because I will say, like again, the character itself, like I didn't dislike the character. Again, I found the performance slightly stiff, but like you said, mostly, and it could be due to the writing and what the character was meant to be in the
Right.
beginning. Because once like post Dawn's death, I do really like you feel for her and you're amped for her. So she did
Right.
do what she was supposed to do towards like the end of her part.
Sure.
Um but yeah, I think again when you watch it for the first time it doesn't make sense why someone lives and then someone else doesn't. But then
Yeah.
once you see the whole picture, you're like, well, yeah, this had to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and yeah, and I see your point, and I think too another thing too about her death, and again, we'll come to it and just briefly touch on it later since we're talking about it now. But I think it's just the way it's done too, because you know a lot of times slasher films, it's not guns that are being used,
Yeah.
and so the fact that she gets shot the way she does, I mean, she's gone through this battle, she's trying to survive, she's hanging in there, at one point, almost seems like she maybe even has an upper hand, and then suddenly he's got a gun, and just boom, you know, it's like that.
Yeah.
So it's very it's not brutal the same way Dawn's death is brutal, but then it is in a different way, if you know what I'm saying. It's
I
just
think
so quick.
because I think emotionally, it is way more visceral and
Impactful. Yeah,
brutal than Dawn's death. Dawn's death, and we'll get to it, but like is iconic. But
sure.
Tara's is just like you're kind of left a little empty after
Right.
watching it.
Yeah, I agree completely. Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. Before we go ahead and get back over into the plot and walk through it, just a couple of behind the scenes things, production notes that I found that I wanted to mention. And going through these, if you have any, you know, comments or anything like that you want to make, Mike, feel free. Um, Demi Leon had his directorial debut with a short film called The Ninth Circle back in 2008, which actually introduced Art the Clown. He had no intentions of continuing that character, but the character broke out with audiences. So he brought it back for a 2011 short film called Terrifier, and then the 2013 anthology called All Hallows Eve. After the anthology was done, that's when Leon decided to do the feature length Terrifier, focusing on Art the Clown. He drew inspiration from some of his favorite slashers growing up, such as Jason, Michael, and Freddy, but he purposely wanted to differentiate from Pennywise, with Pennywise being so colorful in the It franchise. Having another clown, he wanted to make sure that it was completely different. So that's why he went with the black and white look for Art. Um, did crowdfunding through the Indiegogo website. And then Mike Gianelli, I believe is how you pronounce his last name, who had played Art in the previous films, was approached to play Art the Clown in Terrifier. But at that point, he was ready to be done with acting. He didn't want to act anymore and opted not to return. Thornton was cast after improvising in mime a kill scene during his audition, and that won everybody over and got him the role. Um, Pretty much it there, but I think that is just, again, not anything against Mike Gianelli. He's good in All Hallows Eve and that kind of thing, but I think his decision that he just didn't want to do it anymore, and then Thornton is the one they chose, made this franchise. I just, again, I don't know if we'd have had Terrifier 2 or 3, kind of like you said, after if we didn't get David Howard Thornton, because he's absolutely incredible. That's really all I have for the production notes. So we're going to start walking through this. We'll start with the opening scene of the film, where we get the disfigured woman being interviewed. We kind of get a cut there to, this turns out to be Art the Clown, kicking the TV and starting to get ready and preparing. And then, of course, we cut back to this reporter. She's on her phone. She hears a noise. She gets attacked. Tell me your thoughts on this opening scene for this movie.
I have a great time with this opening scene because one, like you said, so we get the beginning part that goes into a cut of Art the Clown. So I love that we get to jump straight into seeing the new Art the Clown with David Howard Thornton, because again,
Right.
this is your first time watching it kind of experience. So we get to see what he looks like. That's a fun time. We get to see the reporter who, if you saw All Hallows Eve, you recognize who the reporter is. She actually is the babysitter, I think, from All Hallows Eve. So I was excited to see her again. And then she's an awful person in this movie.
Right.
She's terrible. So it's always great to see someone. I mean, I only say this in the horror aspect.
Yes.
It's nice to see people get what they deserve, because no, name calling you don't deserve to get killed in real life, but in horror,
Right.
guess what, everything you should be killed for. So it's nice to see that she gets what she deserves. But what I also like is it really sets the tone, because this movie, I think what it gets extremely praised for is the practical effects.
Yes.
Of all else, that's what this movie is very, very known for, is the good gore, the practical. And you get that right from the jump.
Yeah,
you get to see what they're working with. So it really kind of just is a great way of summarizing what you are about to see in 5 minutes or less, basically.
Yeah, I agree with you completely, and that's really the note that I had wrote down as well, was that it sets the stage, because it's those practical effects that make this movie. That's what everybody knows about this movie, and that's what this opening scene does, in my opinion. Is it just sets the stage and lets you know what you're in for. Like, this is the ride you're on. I'm gonna let you know real quick, so you can decide whether you want to continue or not. But yeah, I like the opening scene as well. I have fun with it. I remember the first time I watched the movie, seeing this opening scene, and was like, damn, like that's where we're going to go with this. So this is, I wasn't sure what I thought at that time, but yeah, I like it as well. And then, like you said, it really is setting the stage for everything. From there, we do then get introduced to Tara and Dawn, who we've talked about quite a bit, and they're leaving a Halloween party. They're drunk, and they get their first encounter with Art kind of out there on the street a little bit, and then into the pizzeria, where Art comes in and is just staring at them, and he and Dawn have a little bit of a interaction there, more so her than him. He does get the ring, from the gumball machine, and tries to give that to Tara. Ends up getting kicked out by the owner. Tara and Dawn end up leaving, and then of course Art goes back in, and we get our first couple of kills from Art in this film, where he kills the owner of the pizzeria and this other waiter that's there. Your thoughts on all this interaction going on at the pizzeria, the interaction between Tara and Dawn with Art, and then these first couple of kills?
Well, this pizzeria scene, for me, is probably outside of one other specific moment, which we definitely know we're going to get to. Um, this to me is probably the most iconic part of this movie, and I think this is where you really do get the memes from this movie. Like, I think when we talked about art getting into pop culture, I think it stems from the pizzeria scene,
Yeah, I think so too.
because this is where you get to see David Howard Thornton shine. This is where you get to see art really come alive. His still like he's just trying to get under Tara's skin. He's doing all the facial movements, all the body acting. Like, he's just messing with her in such a comical way.
Right,
And then Tara's uncomfortable. You get Don sitting on his lap trying to make him uncomfortable and taking pictures and bothering him. And to
right.
be honest, I feel like she should have just left him alone and
I
maybe they would have been
completely agree.
okay. Um, but I think this is where, again, when you see the memes of like the this and all, like all the
Yes,
art memes, most of them are from this scene. So I think this
right,
is the most important part of this movie. Um, just from we get to see who Art is as the villain. And
right.
it is very much, not to say it's a copycat because it's not, but he is no Michael Myers. He is no Jason. He
Right.
is more Freddy Krueger
Sure.
without the lines.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
And
That's a very good comparison.
I think it's a great time. Uh, I love these kills. I think these are great kills in this movie, and if it wasn't for one particular one, these would be more highlighted. I think these go underrated, but
Yeah.
to be fair, there is something way better that happens.
Right. No, and I do agree with you. Just like we were talking about, that opening scene set the stage for what we were in for this entire movie. This is setting the stage of this is art, and it's so crazy to me how. And again, this is just David Howard Thornton being so incredible. But you know, you Art is not a good guy. This is a bad guy. Like, this is not somebody that you would like or root for or anything like that, except for he's so damn charming because of the way David Howard Thornton portrays him, and it's just because he's funny, and I find myself, I look at both of those characters. I agree with you. If Don would have left him alone, they might would have made it through the night. But just you can tell that he's annoyed with Don. But then at the same time, Tara's annoyed with him, and I just think it's a great scene. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it does set us up. It does almost make you I hate to say it this way because of everything that he is, but it almost makes you like Art a little bit,
Mhm.
just from the way that David Howard Thornton brings him across. Um, and then you've got these two girls that are reacting to him in a completely different way. One is just trying to have fun with it and maybe piss him off, whereas the other one is completely annoyed and uncomfortable. And then yeah, I think you're spot on. I think these kills are great. They probably don't get a lot of attention because of what's coming, but they are really good kills. And yeah, I think it's hard sometimes to look at a movie like Terrifier and say it's a fun movie to watch. That's something I talk about a lot. I want my slasher movies to be fun. Um, but this scene is fun. I have a lot of fun with this scene. I really enjoy this scene. It's one of the best overall scenes of the movie, in my opinion. So yeah, I'm right there with you. This
Absolutely agree.
pizzeria scene is great. Yeah. Now from there, as they end up leaving and they discover the tire issue they have, so Tara ends up calling her sister Victoria, and then Tara needs to go to the bathroom, and so she ends up finally getting into this apartment building. This pest control guy named Mike lets her in. While she's in there, Dawn hears about this massacre on the radio, and then Art gets in the car with Dawn. Um, Also going on at the same time, Tara has met this crazy lady with a doll. And then we get, Art showing up in the apartment with Tara, starting to chase her a little bit. Um, that chase scene where you start to get more from her character. We also know that Victoria is now heading towards them, and eventually Art will capture Tara. But through all of this, where Art gets in the car with Dawn, and then chasing Tara around the apartment. Um, how are you feeling at this point in the film now that we've started to kind of up things a little bit, and he's not just teasing them in the pizzeria anymore. Now it's getting a little more real.
Yeah, so here's the thing. Terrifier is a very brutal, gory movie. I would not consider, and again, this is going to be a very subjective opinion because everybody is different on things scare people differently. Everybody has
Sure.
their own threshold for what scares them. I would not consider this movie scary. I would just consider it very brutally violent. However, that moment where she hears it on the radio, where she's hearing about the massacre and it's clicking who it is,
Right.
and she's like, "Oh snap! Like we dodged a bullet."
Yeah.
Needing to tell Tara because she hears someone, and it's Art. That and still, so I rewatched this movie a few times this week to get prepared for this.
Yeah.
But when I watched it today in the afternoon, it still got me. Like something about him just appearing, and we went from he still has that like grin, so it's still slightly comical, but as opposed to the pizzeria where it was like fun, creepy. This was, yes, he's smiling, but it's just creepy and it did like get to me. So
Yeah.
I think that little moment is probably the most terrifying part of this movie, of like an actual scare for me.
Sure.
Um, then yes, we get into the apartment, and this for me is where it does really take off in the like, yes, this is where we get our chase scenes, this is where we get most of, if not all of our kills. I do have a problem in this building, but we will get to it down the line. But for
Okay.
what we're the first part of this, the first act of this building, I do enjoy it. I do get to see Tara put up a fight, and this is where we do make that connection that we think Tara is supposed to be our final girl because she's giving us
Right.
final girl energy up and down. Um, I do like the pest guy. Something about him is he did a good job with what he was supposed to do.
I agree.
The crazy lady did her job very well.
Sure.
To be honest, and even if they did explain her purpose, I still will never understand why she's there. Like
Yeah.
what purpose she serves this movie, but you know what? I don't ask questions. um, yeah, I enjoy this part, and then I do enjoy where it goes, what I call the middle, because to me, this apartment has three acts. It has when we first arrive and we're doing all of the Terra chasing,
Right.
and then we get to where we're at with Dawn and Tara, and then we get
Right.
the Vicky apartment stuff.
Sure. Yeah. No, I agree. That makes perfect sense, and I agree with you. Really on everything you were saying. I think that scene where Art gets in the car, that's where you really get your tonal shift because now it's not just fun anymore.
Yeah.
It suddenly just gets really, really creepy there when he gets in the car with Dawn. So I agree with you 100% there. I agree with everything you're saying as far as Tara, and that's where we're really starting to get that final girl appearance from her and the way she's doing everything. Um, and I'm also spot on with you. Even when I just watched this a couple of days ago to get ready for this and was taking some notes, I thought the same thing. This crazy lady with the doll, I don't understand. I was 100% with you. I'm like, why? I don't even know why we have this character unless it's just for another kill later. Like I really don't get it. But
And I think
that's
that's all
fine.
it is, but I feel like because they they gave her so much of a story that
Yeah.
you're like, it has to make sense then, right? Because like again, we see it slashers, they will always introduce a character so quickly for another kill. Like they need
Right.
the cannon fodder, like they need to amp the kills without killing anyone important. In this
Right.
particular case, there's not too many important people,
Sure.
so you should be fine killing anyone. So it was weird that we focused a lot of time on this woman and
Yeah,
like the quirks, and it felt like she was becoming a character. And that's great if you want to develop another character, but then I need to know why. Like,
yeah. I
and it
almost
does.
wonder. There was the part of me that wondered, and I remember thinking this maybe back like the first time I saw the film. The first time I watched this movie, and her character seems off, and you can kind of tell that Tara's a little put off by her. I wondered if maybe she was part of it in some way. Like, did she have something to do with this? Was she, um, you know, a comrade of Art or something? And then after I saw the movie and saw what happened, I'm like, oh no, I guess that wasn't it. But watching it again the other day, I almost wonder, was that what they were attempting to do? Were they trying to just throw you off a little bit and think maybe she had something to do with it? I don't know, because we did spend a lot of time with her, and
We
I
did.
don't really know why, unless maybe that was it. They were wanting you to think that she might be part of things as well until she wasn't. I don't know, but yeah. But other than that, I agree with everything you're saying, and I do see what you're talking about the different parts. Um, and then we get into yeah, the almost the highlight of the movie, because now Art has captured Tara, and she wakes up bound up in this chair, and we are we get to see that Dawn has been suspended upside down, almost completely naked, and we get her kill where she ends up getting sawed in half while Tara has to watch. Definitely the kill of the movie.
Yeah.
Definitely unlike anything that I think I had ever seen at this point. Do you remember the first time? Because I know you said the first time you watched this movie, you weren't a fan. But did this kill have any impact on you the first time you watched it?
Oh, 100%. Um, yeah, when I first watched this movie was, again, it was not my cup of tea, but that kill, I was like, okay, like, again, never had an issue with the practical effects. I did give them that kudos the entire time. Like, this is awesome. Like, I like that they are using practical effects and they're doing a great job at it. This gore is kick ass.
Right.
I just don't like this movie. And then
Gotcha.
we got to that moment. I'm like, I had never seen that done. I've seen people be sawed in half, but from
Right.
the sternum, from
Yeah.
your top half to your lower half. I have not seen someone split down the middle from their groin to all the
Right.
way down.
Yeah.
Uh, and in this particular case, I have heard, I still haven't seen it, but I do hear there is another movie that does a kill like this.
Okay.
I've never seen it before. I want to say it's called Bone Tomahawk.
Okay. I
Um,
haven't seen that either. So okay.
and so to me, this is a very original kill.
Yeah.
I don't know which one came out first, and to me, it doesn't matter. This is the one that I saw, so this is the
Right.
original in my personal uh, kill log that's up here. It's still one of my favorite horror movie kills of all time. I There's a couple that are very close. Uh, I think Hatchet is the only movie that I have a kill that I favor more than this one.
Okay.
Um, but like In a Violent Nature has a really awesome kill and this is like my standard when we're talking about like best kills. When Fangoria Chainsaw Wars asks for what's your best kill, I always try to put like the kill that I'm thinking of. Where does it stand next to Dawn's kill in
Okay.
Terrifier?
Got it.
So this is a standard, like for me. This is the measuring stick of kills. Um, and from hating this movie to loving the third movie to now really appreciating this movie, this has always just stood with me. This kill, it's a fantastic
Yeah.
kill.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It blew my mind the first time I watched it, just because I'd never seen anything like this. Yeah, it just makes you shake your head like, what the hell did I just see? And then the fact that, Tara's having to sit there and watch this basically also is just crazy. But yeah, I agree with you. It's an amazing kill. I'm curious. You said that there was a Victor Crowley. Is it the Felissa Rose kill?
It is not, but that's up there.
Oh,
So
okay.
Hatchet, Victor Crowley, has honestly so many kills are iconic.
Yeah.
No, my favorite is the one where he tears the person's head
Ah,
apart.
okay. Gotcha.
Am I wearing that
Okay.
shirt right now? Funny enough, I am.
Oh,
I
that's
actually
awesome.
am wearing the Hatchet shirt underneath my Terrifier
Underneath your
shirt, and it
Terrifier
has
shirt. That's
that.
awesome. Okay. That's good. Okay. Yeah, no, that is a good one as well. For some reason, the Felissa Rose kill from the fourth movie is what came to mind. But yeah, no, that's a good one too. So I agree with
I
you
do
there.
love that's the cell phone kill, right?
Yes.
I love
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, I agree with you. Great kill. And then after this kill, we get to the part of the movie that I was talking about. I hate because we it appears that Tara's going to escape. We get a little bit more of a chase, and almost appears that right when she gets the upper hand, Art pulls out a gun. Initially shoots her in the leg, um, then shoots her in the face, and then goes ahead and finishes her off and shoots her multiple times. And yeah, that one still gets to me in a completely different way because I was just like, damn, it's not what I saw coming and not what I wanted. I still to this day watched it again the other day, and I still was like, I hate the fact that she got killed in this movie. But yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, I think because again, this movie is brutal in itself. Like we talked about, it's gory. It's all about the kills. It's all about the practical effects. Um, and what I will say, not to do a too deep dive on it, because obviously when you talk about Terrifier, especially the first one, you there was a lot of controversy about like how brutal it is towards specifically only women. But I think what makes it, and I think Tara's character is a what really solidifies this opinion for me. I think why it feels that much more brutal that she dies, as well as like why it does feel a little brutal towards women, is because we were expecting her to be the final girl. When you
Yeah,
have slashers, the reason why it's okay to um, be so brutal, and yes, a lot of the victims are usually women in slashers, but the reason
sure,
why I think other slashers don't get the same kind of grief that this one did was because they had a final girl. They had the one
right,
that escaped, that they had the one that outsmarted, they had all these things. And in this particular movie, without getting, I don't count the final girl in
yeah,
this
no, I'm with you.
movie.
Right,
Um, so you kind of feel like there's that imbalance
yeah,
of the female empowerment and the violence towards women in this. So I think that's kind of what makes it feel, and I think that's why as the other installments grow, you start to feel it less because you do get the empowerment of Sienna. You do
right.
feel all that. So I think in this particular movie, it's had Tara survived, I don't think it feels as vicious.
No, you're probably right. Yeah, that's a good point. And you get that later in the franchise with Sienna. So yeah, that's a very good point. Victoria now finally arrives. Art kind of tricks her with a text to get her to come around. We get the crazy lady again as she sees Art. We get another one of the pest control guys has showed up. Art attacking and killing him. And then we kind of get this scene where this crazy lady's trying to comfort Art. It appears, and nurture him a little bit, which ends up not working out well for her. We find out because Victoria then ends up coming across that situation. She finds Don's body, and then she finds Art wearing this crazy lady's skin. Um, yeah, talk about this part of the film now, where Victoria is now on the scene, but Art's interaction with this crazy lady, and yeah, your thoughts here?
So this is where the movie really did lose me the first time, and I will say it kind of like this is where it loses me from being a really really good film. Is I think even though it's not a very long run time, I
Right.
think the way it's structured out makes it feel longer than it is. And I think Victoria's entrance is what does it, because now all of a sudden it's like it's a whole new movie again. Like, who's
Yeah.
Victoria? Like, I mean, we do get to know who Victoria is, but like, why is she now all of a sudden like got this big change? Like, now she's getting a whole new section of the movie, and I'm like,
Right.
this movie's the minute you killed Tara, like, we're done, yo. Like, let's just wrap this up. This movie's going on too long. So this is where it starts to lose me slightly. I am not invested in Victoria. Um, I'm slightly more invested in the crazy cat lady. Uh, and then she's dead, and then Art has a really creepy moment wearing her skin.
Right.
It's an okay time. It just, at some point, I just needed it to be over.
Yeah.
Uh, and then, yeah, that for this particular part, that's my feelings on that situation.
Yeah, no, I can see that 100% because I never really thought about it like that. But now that you say that, that makes a lot of sense to me because I feel the same way, um, for the most part. Yeah, because watching it the other day again, and I've seen this multiple times now. But like I said, when I was watching it the other day, because Tara's death still has that impact on me. When we go from that to this, it's almost like you just don't care. You're just kind of like, what's happening now? Like, let's wrap it up. I mean, it just doesn't, um, because even though, as you said, we know who Victoria is, we haven't really, we're not fully invested in her.
Yeah, there was no connection
We
to her.
Yeah, we still don't really understand what this crazy lady's doing, and yeah, I just felt like some of this was just maybe not necessary. So yeah, I can really see your point there because watching it the other day, I found myself thinking that way. Like I just kind of forgot about it for a minute. Like I'm trying to watch and take notes on the movie, but as this all is playing out, I'm still thinking about the Terra kill and how much I still don't like that after all this time. So it just doesn't really do much for you here. So I can definitely see where this would be a part where people might start to lose interest in the film a little bit. It does, I think, try to pick back up here because now once this other these pest control guys are out of the way, Art has killed them. The crazy lady's out of the way, and we've got Art attacking Victoria and her trying to fight back a little bit. She comes across Tara's body, which I'm sure had a huge impact on her. We get the scene where Art continues to attack her. He's whipping her. There's just a lot going on. Hits her with a truck. I mean, it just gets pretty brutal there with Art and Victoria going on before the police arrive. Did you plug back in at all here? Does it start to bring you back in, or were you still kind of just out of it at this point?
I was out of, well, I have two thoughts on it.
Okay.
From the original and the first couple rewatches, completely still out of it. It just, like I said, I was checked out, and I could not check back in. I will say I ease up a little bit now because this, again, especially with the first movie, this, while you don't have, you can just watch this first movie and be fine. But if you get into the franchise, this really does become, your opinion starts to change from each individual movie to the whole franchise. So this, once you realize where we go into, but particularly three,
Right.
now you appreciate Victoria's whole arc.
Sure.
Um, and because I love her in three, when I do rewatch, I'm like, okay, I guess I need to care about this part that bores me.
Right.
So check in a little bit. I think watching the movie as a, from the movie standpoint, I kind of like start to drift off of like, here we go again, until I remember, like, okay, just remember why we're watching her, why we're doing this, because I'm a huge fan of Victoria,
Okay.
just not in the first movie.
Got it. No, I think that makes sense, and I'm with you here because if someone's not going to watch this whole franchise, if they're only going to watch this first movie, the first half of this movie is really good. The second half of this movie is, I mean, it's just kind of there, in my opinion. But knowing where we go, knowing what's coming later, it is starting to set the stage and the Victoria story and that kind of thing. So I think I'm right there with you. now that I know what's coming, I feel like I start to get a little more interested again here. But it's only because I know what's coming in the franchise. If I didn't know what was coming, I feel like I would probably still be, uh, I'd still be thinking about why did he kill Tara. I mean, that's just where I would be this whole time. But when the cops show up and then Art ends up shooting himself, um, and then we get the morgue scene, where they bring Art's body into the morgue, and the mortician there, the lights start flashing, and the phone rings, and Art seems to reanimate and attacks the medical examiner there, and then we get the finale where 1 year later, Victoria is released from the hospital, and we discover that she's the disfigured woman who was being interviewed in the beginning. I do like that. I like the twist we get there at the end to bring it all back to show us that what that was Victoria from the beginning, and this whole massacre thing. This was what that was about. That all took place prior to. So, I like the little twist there at the end. Um, that helps somewhat for me also. How about you?
Absolutely. Yeah, seeing the first movie for the first time, because again, I did like the beginning, didn't understand it and how we got to where we did. But then, I mean, once you start seeing you start to figure it out like as it's happening, but then they turn around, and you're like, oh, okay. And then you're like, then it clicks like, wait, hold up.
Right.
And that's why I said like I don't count her as a final girl
I don't either.
for this particular reason.
Right.
Uh, but this is the start of my appreciation for Victoria and who she becomes.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Yeah, because it does kind of begin a whole new story here and take us down a whole new path. So, um, before we before we rate this movie, anything else we didn't cover or anything else you want to say about it? Um,
Let's see. No, I think we covered everything that I like about this movie. Um, yeah, because again, no, honestly, the only issue for me with this movie, because I appreciate this movie so much more than I once did. I think the only thing for me that still will not make it perfect is the even though I know where Victoria goes, I still think that you could have found a way to make that ingrained in the story a little bit sooner and not as long, because
sure.
it does make it feel separate, which makes the
Right.
movie feel longer.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I'm sorry if one of the viewers, if you want to let me know, send me a theory about this crazy cat lady. I need to know why she's here other than just like cannon fodder with a deep, deep like connection.
Yeah.
Because for them to focus so much time on her, there needs to be a reason, and it's killing me that I don't know.
No, I
So
agree with you
please let me
there.
know.
Yeah, if anybody has any insight on that, please let us know because I feel the same way with you there. So, that being said, everything we've talked about, we're on a scale of 1 to 10. What would you rate Terrifier?
All right. Well, let's see. Because you know what's funny is, this might be the second or third time that I've talked about this movie, like, on like a this type of level,
Right.
uh, and it starts to grow each time I talk about it because
Okay.
the more we talk, listeners, I'll tell you what my original score for this is, and it's not going to sound like how I've been talking about this movie. If you told me out of 10, I probably would have gave you a 4 at the highest, and that's being generous
Okay.
because I just did not enjoy this. And I think, honestly, we're kind of moving up to 7.
Okay.
I think we're
Yeah.
kind of moving up to I think I can confidently say that I actually like this movie now, as
Yeah.
opposed to like it's growing on me the way we talked about it. And that's why I said, like, when you sent the pinpoints of what we're going to kind of talk about, and like I
Right.
said, I wrote them down so that I could watch the movie to in an organized way. I started to realize I like this movie.
Yeah. No, it's funny. I am right there with you. So, I think I would have given it better than a 4 the first time I saw it, but not much. It wouldn't have been much higher than a 4 because it was just very middle of the road for me. But um, when I watched this the other day and I was trying to decide exactly where I wanted to rate it, I was right. It's so funny. I actually was thinking a 7. I wrote down a 7. I would give it a 7 out of 10 as well. Art the Clown continues to grow on me. One of the favorite things I have in my collection is my Art the Clown coffee mug. I love this coffee mug. Um, yeah, Art the Clown continues to grow, and I really do like this movie. It's not my favorite in the franchise, and we'll talk about. I'm going to have you come back later on, and we'll talk about Terrifier 2, and then we'll get together again and talk about Terrifier 3. But I like it, especially the first half. I love the first half of the movie.
Yeah.
I think it's really, really good. And then the second half is just kind of there, but it it's going somewhere, and I like where it goes. So yeah, I think a 7 out of 10 is a perfect place to put this one. So I am right there with you 100%. But yeah, and I look forward to you coming back and us talking Terrifier 2 in the future.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited because I'm already saying if I liked this one more than I thought I did, I'm assuming I might like the second one more than I thought I did too. And then the
Right.
third one, I mean, the third one, I love the third one, so I can't
Yeah.
wait to talk about that one.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. I absolutely love the third one. I think, and I'll go back and watch it again just to make sure. I think the only beef I had with that second one was I felt like it's just really long. But
Yeah.
other than that, I really do like it. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to you coming back and us talking about it. Um, this episode with the day it drops tomorrow is Halloween, so I'll wish everybody a happy Halloween, and might take a minute to tell everybody what you've got coming up for November on the different things that you do.
Yeah, so if this one, well, on Halloween, we should have on Voices from the Mausoleum another Found Footage Fridays episode. Don't know what that one will be just yet, but we'll have one out. And then come November, on my personal channels, for my Insta and TikTok, Mike and Serial X, I should be starting my uh, Nightmares Without Borders series, as well as continuing on Saturdays, my Salute Your Short Saturdays to go over horror short films. And then, yeah, probably pushing out more content for Rise from the Dead podcast, as well as Voices from the Mausoleum. We'll probably be putting out some other content, but that's basically it for now.
All right, very cool. Yeah, well, definitely check out all the channels. Go and subscribe, and show Mike the love and support. Here coming up with my horror corner. So next week, a couple of fun episodes with more new guests, Kelly and Sarah from the Final Girls podcast, and they're now on YouTube as well. Are going to be on my channel next week. We're going to talk about Jeepers Creepers. I also have episodes coming up on prom night. Trying to think. Robbie and Kaylee from That Horror Couple are going to come back. We've been going through the Quiet Place franchise. We're going to wrap that up. Yeah, a lot of good stuff coming. Immaculate, I'll be talking about that next month. Brendan from Our Life in Horror, he and I are going to talk about Dead Snow. So a lot of fun stuff coming up next month as well. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so you don't miss anything. Hit the like button today and leave us some comments. Let Mike and I know what you think about Terrifier. Please tell us why the crazy cat lady is around and what her purpose in this movie is, and give us some insight there because neither one of us quite get it just yet. But yeah, let us know what you think about Terrifier and what you think about Art the Clown. Follow me on social media. I'm pretty much on everything out there: Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, X, Letterbox. Yeah, just search Sean's Horror Corner. I'm pretty much on everything out there. So thank everyone so much for watching. Mike, thank you so much again for coming on. This has been a lot of fun. And happy Halloween, everybody. I will see you soon.